Prem Solo Shri Ganesh Bhagwan ki Jai. Siddharam everybody, and welcome to our second night of Ganesh Gyaan Yagna here at the Sri Krishna Seva Ashram, discussing the topics that are relevant now in the Ganesha period. Last night I did the discourse dealing with Lord Shiva and why it was that Lord Shiva cuts off the head of Lord Ganesh. Why is Lord Ganesh? We went into Brahmavaivat Puran and Nanda Baba is asking Lord Krishna in that section, if he's the remover of obstacles and he's the remover of problems, and I am told to pray to him when I have problems to get them resolved and moved, he couldn't help himself. And we went into Lord Shiva attacked his son because of a shrap he got when he had attacked Surya. And then we went back one further discourse where Surya gains this shrap that he's going to be damaged because of something he did when he acted in a kind of pompous, I better than you type of way. Long story short, we did the Sangat Ashram Sutra last night. And tonight, last night I asked what to read. So some people did mention that they wanted to hear the discourse of Ganesh Baba when he has 5 heads, what we call Panchmukh Ganapati. In text, he is referred to as Hidamba Ganapati in that form. But many more people, a good few, wanted to know about this moon. The first day of Ganesh Utsav, the Ganesh Jayanti day, the 4th day in the bright half or the bright fortnight of the month of Bhadrapada. In last night's discourse we touched on it, we introduced it, that it is considered to be bad to look at the moon in that night in particular. In the group, in the WhatsApp group where for the ashram, we were talking about how to remedy this predicament that people find themselves in. For some people, based on the messages that I got, they didn't know what I was talking about, that they've never heard that if you look at the moon on this particular night, that there could be problems. What are these problems? So please, Baba, read this discourse for us. Please educate us on this topic. So tonight we're going to deal with this as we learn more about the intricacies of our Ganesh. Because there's a backstory for all these things. It's just that sometimes we hear one little tiny bit of it and we take that. So tonight is to go a little deeper in the history of some of the things we do. Before we do so, everybody join your hands as we begin with opening mantras, invocation mantras, before we venture forward. Om Karvastulatum Gajendavarnam Lambodaram Sundaram Prashpandam Madhugandhyalobhya Madhupam Vyalola Gandastalam Dantagata Vitarita Dhidurire Sindur Shovakaram Vande Shaila Sudasutam Ganapatim Siddhipradam Kamadat Sarvamangala Mangalye Shive Sarvartha Sadhike Sharanye Trayambike Gauri Narayani Namostude. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bannana Mrityu Mukshya mamritat vasudevasutam devam kansachanuramardanam devaki paramanandam krishnam vande jagadgurum adideva namastubhyam prasidha mama bhaskara devakara namastubhyam prabhakara namostute. Prem Solo Shri Vishnu Bhagwan ki Jai, Shri Ganesh Bhagwan ki Jai. Siddharaman, again welcome to everybody if you just came onto our satsang. So we started last night and we were speaking about how we ended up with some of the rules that came with the sun. The sun and is cursed with the eclipse. Why is it bad for a pregnant girl to look at the sun with the eclipse? We touched on all of that last night. Lord Krishna is speaking to his father Nanda Baba. This is after Kans is destroyed at that teenage age, and he's talking to his father before he tells him that he return to Vraj and leave me here in Mathura. And they are having a conversation where he asked Nanda Baba, ask me anything you want. And instead of the normal type of conversation, Nanda is asking about secrets. Why can't we look at the sun in eclipse? Why can't we look at the moon on this particular night? Why is that so? What is the history? Where does good dreams come from? And what is the secrecy with bad dreams? And chapter after chapter, Lord Krishna is speaking. And last time we started here and we talked about the history of how Lord Shiva came to decapitating the head of Ganapati Baba. Where did it come from? And it showed the role of karma. The statement was echoed, the sins of the father fall on the son. It affects the children. So we need to be careful. Tonight that sentiment is going to be reflected again. A very rough discourse, this one. And I know many pundits, and I don't blame them, this discourse is different. This discourse deals with rape. So it is something very touchy. The Baba said that. So, I don't know, when I run from anything, we have to talk about it. We have to teach our children the correct thing. So we're going to go into that tonight. Why can't we look? What is the problem? Nanda is now asking, what is the problem with looking at the moon on the night of the Ganesh Chout in the month of Bhadrapada, in the fourth day, just to be clear, the fourth day in the bright fortnight, in the month of Bhadrapada. Usually this is where we celebrate Ganesh Jayanti. Why is that night? What's the big deal? If I look at the moon, we hear some things. We're going to hear what could be the consequence. Ganesh Baba. And then Ganesh Baba turns out to have a problem with the moon. So many pundits are reading Katha all over the place. And we're hearing that there was a falling out with Ganesh and the moon. And there's one where he throws the tusk at the moon. And there's one where he tells him you are going to lose your luster. This moon seems to always be in trouble. There's a Shiv Puran discourse where Chandrama, the moon, is favoring Rohini over the sisters that he is married to. In Patra, the moon has the nakshatras as wives, the stars, the constellation that we do puja in. So when somebody says, the baby born in Bhagdan, the baby born in Moon, there are 5 stars, that is inauspicious, 5 and 6, inauspicious for children to born. Then you hear somebody says it's Panchak. We have to do Panchak Shanti Puja, where they do the 14 forms, they do puja for the 14 forms of Yamraj when they are worshipping, so that they will shanti these 5 stars, so that subsequent death is not going to happen. Now many people think, just to touch on that, many people think Panchak Shanti Puja is when you make the dolly on the day of the funeral and that's it. The truth is, no, it's more complex than that. You do Sodas Matrika Puja on the Bandara day. You come back with your Navgraha Puja. The Chatur Rup, the 14 forms of Yamraj, Shanti Puja, to prevent him from coming to take the soul of any subsequent people. Making a doll does not translate into stopping untimely death. It is a tukka you are doing there. That is like when you hear pundits talk about long time we used to sell our children to overcome the bad, that the father's karma would not interfere with the child's karma. It allows the child to start to speak, develop, hear to grow, etc. Because the father or mother's planet is interfering with the development of the child. So change the parent, more or less, in English, let's say. So your sister, your brother, who's up, we're more the ladies. The condition that we look for usually is a lady who've had, God bless her, that she can make children easy, happy, healthy children. Sell your child to that lady, and her karma will bear fruit over your child. Her good luck will bear fruit, in the good luck in the life it will spread into your child, and your child will overcome sickness and live. So when you do the dolls alone, please remember this, you are only doing part of the ritual. The real crux of the puja, there's an entire pretty for it, where you have to do particular prayer on the Bandara day to prevent subsequent death. Those are different wives of the moon. When Baba, we want to do wedding, so we look for certain nakshatra, yug, other things, but the nakshatra there is nakshatra for murti stapan, wedding, yagya, etc. So all these different ladies, imagine one guy has these 27 girls married, and they became the stars that we use in Patra till today. And of these 27, Rohini is one of them. And the moon, at one point, I believe in Shivpuran, he shows her more love. He wants to talk to her more, be with her more. And it causes the father-in-law, Daksh, the elder brother of Narad, to put that. Daksh is the father-in-law of Lord Shiva when Sati Mata was alive. And Daksh gives him a shrap that you will lose, you will get consumption, you will get what we call tuberculosis. And in that sickness you will lose your luster. So this is where we ended up with bright half as he's gaining his luster and power. And when he reaches to his pinnacle, when the moon is the most full, come down now to dark half, lose power. Because he was too powerful, he was too influential, this moon. And the moon ends up in this bright half, dark half cycle that has an effect not only on our prayer, but also it has an effect on the psyche of people. We can talk a little bit about that tonight. And then how do you fix this troublesome time by watching this moon? All these things we have to talk about. Ganesh Baba. Last time we were talking about the history of the Ganesha celebration. And that person, I can't remember his name for nothing. I thought I had Lok Manya, I think Maharaj was his name. He was an activist. You see, at that time in South India, the British rule, British Raj at that time, they had allowed, because of the reaction, because of the turmoil caused by the Muslim brothers, that they were allowed to have their weekly prayer and their mass. They could go to mass, they could pray, they could congregate, but because Hinduism did not dictate that you needed, or there was a need for weekly congregation. There's no such thing as every week I must go to prayers, as in the Muslim faith. Going to Sunday morning church for the Christian faith. In fact, ours would come when the moon changes. When 14 days after the moon, 15 days after the moon, then you will have Shivratri coming in a particular month. Diwali is coming once for the year, etc. So our occasions are many, but once, along a period of time. So the day in the week changes. It may not happen in a month, etc. So the British government came out with this rule, and it was as if it was anti-Hindu. They couldn't come out, they couldn't meet, they couldn't greet, they couldn't do anything. But it was done so that there would be no uprising against the government. That was the That was the motive. And the Hindu is the more docile of the two. So when the Muslim made their trouble, Lokmanya Tilak and Mami Baba. Lokmanya Tilak was the man who started Ganesh Utsav in South India. So when the Hindu race is in this way suppressed, this gentleman decides to encourage people to restart, because there was an old, from the Maratha Empire, an old practice of Ganesh Utsav. Those people believed in Ganesh, and they had it, government paid for everything in those times. The municipalities would pay, and they would have a grand festival. Comes in the British government and they stop it. They discontinue all Hindu festivals. You could not have it, and they wouldn't pay for it. It is necessary. So Lokmanya now, he decides to restart the thing, and it becomes at the patronage of families, just like what we have today. One person might buy the murti, one person might sponsor food, prasad, etc. It is not a state-run thing. It is a personal run thing. But in older times, it was state-run. It was a part of your identity. And this is what the British government attacked. The prayer that identified a person or a people. So when he did it, different writers, people from that time, in that 1800 something, they write about how poor people, little people, big people would have their little mud murtis of Ganesh walking in droves towards the water at the end, or as the procession would begin for this thing. And when they saw how effective it was to work around, to find a loophole like that, to work around the British rule, because there was this precedent that Hindus paraded the Ganesh for this time, and he restarted it. That the imperial government cannot stop them, and they did not stop them, couldn't stop them. Too much of them came together. And Hinduism propagated the worship of Ganesh. But remember, Ganesh is not a troublesome figure. There are those people that only worship and only propagate Durga. So you have the Shakti set. Then you have these Vaishnavites, the Shivites. Their chanda looks different. Their prayers are different. Their beliefs are different. And you can't be a Shivite and go into a Vaishnavite temple and vice versa. In some places they have trouble for them. So Lokmanya says, you know what? The Shakti person, and you check it for yourself, Shakti person, the Shivite, the Vaishnavite, all depend on Ganesh Baba as Pratham Puj. He's not controversial. He's not fighting to be the one in charge, although there are discourses that says from him comes everything. So he propagates this deity that is the central figure for all of them. And he says, come together as one group. Ganesh does not belong to any one group. Ganesh is this unifying force because he is everybody's Ganapati. In one of his slok, I think it's the same Nam Sutra from Narad Puran, when Narad Muni is teaching about Ganesh Baba. He says every intellectual, intelligent person should think of Ganesh first. That is how he starts. Pranamam Shirasadevam, think of him first. So with that in mind, Lokmanya started this bigger parade. People would come to do Yatra, Tirat. And it was a slap in the face for the British government, because without violence, as Hindus are, in a very tactful way, they had stood up to the powers that be that tried to corral the entire Hindu group. Ganesh Baba is the remover of obstacles and obstructions, and it survives till today. When England had to relinquish the grip and the strangling hold over Bharat, India, that process, that the worship of Ganesh, maybe not the procedure where we are talking about making the murti with cement and all those things, or the chemicals in it. That wasn't it, true, believe it. But the worship of Ganesh in the temple, the Yagna, the chanting, all these things was started in the Maratha Empire. And that continued, and it continues steady. It has become somewhat commercial, and we need to be careful with that, to be quite honest. It has become, because there's a need faith, because there's a one faith. It has become somewhat ego-driven, and I'll explain why I'm saying that. And I'm saying it for you, the listener, to make sure you don't catch it. My Ganesh is not going anywhere. My Ganapati is not going anywhere. I have a Ganesh home. I'm going to worship him. When Ganesh is over, do you stop worshiping him? Every month there's chout. Do you worship him then? Or is it convenient to worship him only in this Utsav? As I said last night, 30 years ago, this mass movement of Ganesh worship, like how we have movement to worship Kali Mata, whilst it is good, it's very good. We must know what we're doing. And we must know that we're doing the right thing. Is it about only the fact that we could import murtis or make murtis or do Visarjan? We spoke about Visarjan doing murti. Maybe we get the procedure right. Okay, fine. Maybe we get that part correct. Fine. Is it only about the murti? Is it, suppose I call you and I say, hey, so you have a Ganesh murti. How big is your murti? How much murti do you have? I have 72 3 feet murti. Kya come in your jug? I have 2 12 feet. I have 2 10 feet. I have 12 10 feet. And it becomes an ego trip. Is that helping the Hindu public? The young Hindu is looking on. Is that what you're about? You have a Ganesh murti in every temple. But when you have this murti now, and I agree, they're beautiful, they're very pretty. Is it only about the murti? It has become as if the murti is a way of luring the crowd to you, to catch people, to pull people. I get the murti, we spend that money, and we're going to pull people so we can boast that our crowds are big, the RT money was large, whatever your goal is in your yagya. But if your yagya is to teach people how to feed people, how to help people, because there are many people that need food. There are many people need rent. How do you justify, I don't care about what other people do, I'm talking about my Hindu group. How do you justify spending $50,000 for one murti when there are people who need food? Do you have any idea how much roti or bread or rice that could have sponsored for people? Just a point to think about that. If we do our part to help people and you still want to buy your murti, that's fine. People do it. That's fine. But then don't get into court, into trap, about the murti is so big and nice. As if bigger the murti, more blessing. Doesn't work like that. Please remember that. Please remember that. Let's draw our hands tonight as we chant. Before we go into our discourse, Sri Ganesh Mahapanch Ratna Stotra, 5 verses in praise of him. Modakarata modakam. Clasp your hands and you pray tonight. Sada vimukti sadakam kaladhara vatam sakam vilasilokadakshakam annaya kaikanayankam vinastitabhya daityayankam nata subhasu nashakam namamitam vinayakam nate tarati bhikaram navotirakaha baswaram Namat surari nirjanam natadi kapadurdaram sureshwaram nideshwaram gajeshwaram ganeshwaram maheshwaram samasya shri paraptya param nirantaram samastaloka shankaram nirastadaitya kunjaram daratarodaram varam vare bhavaktaram aksharam kurapakam karam shamakaram modakam shasakaram manaskaram namaskrutam namaskarumani baswaram akimchanna arthamarjanam chirantanokti vajanam purari purvanandanam surari garva chavarnam prapanchanashanam beshanam Pannananjayadi bhushanam kapoladanam varanam bhajaye purana varanam nitantakantam dantakanti mantakanta kat atmajam achintya rupa mantahera mantaraya kritanaya Kurude nirantaram vasantameva yoginam tamekadantam mekameva chintayami satatam nama. Put your hands together, last verse. Mahaganesha pancharatna adena yonavahan prajalpati pavatake kurudi smaran ganeshwaram arogatam adoshatam sushahitim suputratam samahito rastabhutim abhyopati suchirataha. That's the last verse I'm giving you. He who recites this prayer, that he or she, in the morning with devotion, these 5 gems, the 5 gems of Ganesh Baba, with his names, with his power, remembering Ganapati in his heart. Where does the murti need to be? In your heart. Not in your house or temple or village. Only for these 10 days in your heart. That great Maha Ganesh will soon endow you with great health, with great life. And all the blemishes and hardships of life will go. That person who is praying for learning and betterment will get that learning. The person who is praying for children, nobility, righteous behavior in your children will attain that. The person who is praying to overcome sickness will gain long life. The person who is praying for peace in their marriage, peace with children, peace in their home will gain that peace. Pleasantries and respect will gain that respect. And that person will be endowed with spiritual and material prosperity. You want to get back yourself with a job. There's a way. But we have to pray. Bhagavad Gita says to have devotion is a wonderful thing. Devotion is good. But you have to have Gyaan. You have to have that Sankhya. That knowledge, so that when you say you believe in something, you know why you believe in it. Tonight, let's enter Brahma Puran. There's only a few books that deal with Ganesh Baba. Mudgala Puran, somewhat Skan Puran, 1 or 2 mentioned in Padma Puran, 4 books. But Brahma Puran is one of the main ones for Ganesh Baba. Ganesh Puran is another one. Let's go, but Mudgala and Ganesh right here. One and the same. As we enter tonight, Krishna Janam Khan of the Brahma Puran, I'm reading from chapter 80 and 81. Jai Bole Baba Tab Sharanam, Jai Bole Baba Tab Sharanam, Jai Bole Baba Tab Sharanam, Jai Samba Sada Shiva Tab Sharanam. Jai Samba Sada Shiva Tava Sharanam Puratara Guru Upali Navayo Vanana Sangyota Ratana Bhushan Bhushan Diva Vara Suksha Mada Vara Jai Bole Baba Tava Sharanam Jai Bole Baba Tava Sharanam Jai Bole Baba Tava Sharanam Jai Samba Sada Shiva Tava Sharanam Jai Samba Sada Shiva Tava Sharanam Vrindavan Bihari Lal ki Jai Umapati Mahadeva ki Jai. Krishna Bhagavan at the end of the previous chapter where he was talking about the solar eclipse, he says, Daddy, now, Nanda Baba, now I'm going to give you why it is prohibited, why it is not good to look at the full moon, especially in that south, in that fourth day, in the month of Bhadrapada. Where did that come from? He says in long time, Purana story, old story, the wife of the planet Jupiter, who is called Brihaspati, he is the guru of all the devatas. He is their godfather. He is married to a very, in that time, Tara Mata is very young and she's very, very beautiful. Not too long married. She's dressed in all fine garments, looking serene. Her hair is adorned with jasmine flowers, sandal piece adorn her body. She is dressed impeccably. Her body features without scorn or reproach. And as she's walking, this chaste woman, who is always good to the vows of her marriage, went to take bath in the Mandakini river. And whilst her body is wet as she's exiting the water, Chandrama, the moon, is becoming very lustful. His power is overwhelming. At that time, there was no bright half, no dark half. This is full moon, as if it were constant. He is very powerful. He is uncontrolled. And when he couldn't control himself no more, this individual mounts his chariot. And he comes and he starts to speak to her in a very disrespectful way. She says, Chandra, these types of talks are not for me and you to have. I am a married person. And I have always been chaste and virtuous and very fixated on my husband. That is the only person I have eyes for. That is my consort. And to make it worse, O moon, remember, I just told you Brihaspati is the guru of all of them. My husband Brihaspati happens to be your teacher. And that making him your godfather, your guru, your father, as it were. As he gives you knowledge, he becomes a father to you. And because I am his wife, I am like a mother to you. What type of conversation is this? Therefore, O great moon, look at me as a mother. You happen to be my son. And in such case, you are indulging in this deplorable actions. You are earning disgrace. And when Brihaspati hears of this, you're going to be burned to ashes. If you know what's good for you, leave this place, leave your mother and let me go free and protect your dharma. Or keep yourself as a godchild, as a godson, and do not come close to me. Do not touch me. If you touch me, you will get this strap, as if you are murdering women. Chandra does not listen. He does not, listen to her warning. And he prepares to rape her, to touch her. And becoming enraged, she curses him. You are going to be eclipsed. And when anybody looks at a lunar eclipse, they're going to get damaged, they're going to get... So for the pregnant girl, you get birth defect, you get sickness, you get troubles, you get different problems looking at the eclipse. And we know today in scientific world, as Western world has now caught up, because of the radiation, there could be some truth to that. We understand that. Let's hear what happens in the next verse. Jai Gananaya Shri Gananaya Ganapati Baba Moria. Jai Gananaya Shri Gananaya Ganapati Baba Moria.
Jai Gananaya
Naya Shri Gananaya Ganapati Baba Moria. Chandran Shrapatada Turan Kamdev Shrapasa Tejas Swina Kina Chintya Bhasma Bhuta Bhashvesha. Jai Gananaya Shri Gananaya Ganapati Baba Moria. Jai Gananaya Shri Gananaya
Ganapati Baba Moria. Jai Gananaya Shri Gananaya Ganapati
Baba Moria. Vrindavan Bihari Lal Ki Jai. She goes on because he is not stopping, he's walking closer and closer. And she already put the shrap over the lunar eclipse. And this is where we spoke last night when they turned the ocean and Rahu comes and sits between the sun and the moon. What did they do to incur this lunar eclipse? Why are they punished like that? This is it. Last time we heard why solar eclipse was created. This is why lunar eclipse is being created. She says, if you don't stop, I'm going to give you further blemish. You will suffer from the disease of consumption. You are going to fall. Your energy, your luster, your entire persona is going to change. You come one step closer. I am putting this on you. Do not touch me. Do not touch me. Do not come close to me. Krishna is telling them the power of a chaste woman cannot be measured. That lady who remains faithful in every way, in her marriage, in front of the husband, in front of onlookers, in privacy, in the conversation that she keep, the text message, the pictures, everything on the phone that is causing trouble today. The lady who is chaste, her potency cannot be measured in terms of how powerful she becomes. She turns around and she says, calm down. You who allow this person to become aroused as a man, to rape a woman like me, you who allow this lust to enter into his thoughts, I put shrap on you too. Listen. That one day you are going to be destroyed. You will be burned to ashes. Does that sound familiar? I think I've heard when Kamdev shot Lord Shiva with the arrow, he burned him. And in that conversation, it sounds raw. How could Lord Shiva do these things? Mahadev Baba, who knows past, present and future, he knew this. And Kamdev, because of his role, has always been damned because he incites different type of love. This type of attraction is not natural and it is demonic. It is not supposed to be done. This is not filial, this is not parental, this is not that type of innocent love. This is not the love between a devotee and God. This is rape. This is forcing yourself. This is worse than what Ravan did to Sita. He still did not touch her in that way. He is trying to touch. Day after the moon caught hold of the hand of Tara, no matter all the shrap is being pronounced, and continues to touch her body in a very inappropriate way. He took her onto his lap and moved now with his chariot from place to place in a way to distract her. Moving from this mountain to this valley, this beautiful scenery, and he brings her, and he even gives her, Varni is another word for intoxicant, drink, to drug her, as it were, so that she will become more complacent and friendly. In fact, Varun Dev himself gives them disintoxicant flowers and all these different things. And then, as Chandrama is moving, Shukra, one of the 9 planets, he is the guru of all the demons now. He encounters his friend. Shukra is one of the planets that we worship in the 9 planets on the bead. Shukra is the Hindi word for Venus, in fact. Venus, the planet Venus. And he spots, Chandrama spots Shukracharya returning from the abode of Bali, who is in Patal. And the moon bowed to him, Guruji. I was overcome with passion. And I saw the wife of Brihaspati, Taradi. And I had no choice. I had to touch her. I had to have her. And she is with me now. Shukracharya says, oh son, listen to me very carefully. Whatever I tell you is for your own good. Hand over Tara to Brihaspati forthwith. Brihaspati is the pupil of Shiva. And you are the son of this teacher. He is the grandson of Brahma. And you hand over that consort to your teacher now. Because when you start to get damned, you will not know where the trouble is coming from. Listen to the words I'm saying. When you start to get damned, when you start to get blamed, when you start to get accused, when you start to get falsely accused, not only righteously accused, falsely accused, things you never did, you will never know how to come out of this cycle of problems. Dealing with one problem, going down another problem, dealing with the other problem. You will be burnt, you will be punished for this. No good will come of this. At my command, release that wife of your teacher because she happens to be like a mother to you. Repent for your sin. She is quite virtuous. She is quite pure. And all your activities are sinful. By forcing yourself on this woman, you have brought shame and Brahmhatya as if you had killed Brahman. Over and over again you have brought filth to your name. And for those that are around you, you should be ashamed of yourself. Nanda Baba wants to hear. He wants to hear more. He wants to hear more about it. Prabhu, son, Krishna, tell me what happened next. What became of the moon? What did Shukra do? What happened? Krishna Bhagwan says, Daddy, please listen. Jai Gananaya, Shri Gananaya, Ganapati Baba Modiya. Jai Gananaya, Shri Gananaya,
Ganapati
Baba Modiya. Jai Gananaya, Shri Gananaya, Ganapati Baba Modiya. Eirav Vrate Mahindra Cha Shravde Shiva Dharme Vascha Kubir Varuna Brahmani Rate Pavan Tataye Mahisatam. Jai Gananaya, Shri Gananaya, Ganapati Baba Modiya, Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. While this little conversation is going on, before Chandrama could reply, above them, Shukra saw all the armies of the Devatas in front on that huge white elephant. Mahindra, Indradev, riding Arivata, Dharma with his white horses, Kubir, Varun, Agni, all of them on their chariots with weapons ready to fight. Yamraj, Surya on his chariot, Shiva is mounted on the bull, Ananta, the Aditya, the Vasu, the Rudras, the Siddhas, the Gandharvas, the Kinnaras, all of them are coming. Shukracharya remained steadfast. He didn't move. And he tells the moon, go one side. Don't worry, I'll protect you. Shukra was the guru of all the demonic forces. All the demons went to him. And he says, don't worry, the demons are not far. They are banked at the Ratnamala river, at the Ashram of Muni Agnipriya. And whilst he's giving them that, he says, if they come to fight, we side to fight them. More or less, that's what he's saying. In the meantime, Shukracharya spots Shiva. Shiv Baba is coming and all the armies are setting up camp and all these things, and Shiv Baba is leaning against this banyan tree whilst Nandi is right there. The Trishul is blazing as if it is on fire. Patisha and all the other weapons are rested down. And Lord Shiva is clad in the tiger skin and he's glowing, looking very calm. That Lord who gives grace to his devotees, forgiveness, knowledge, riches, that cause of all, helps the anxious, helps the grief-stricken. Anybody who comes to him for refuge, they receive a serene smile. And because of this, Shukra, as if he's crying, as if he's perturbed, throws himself at the feet of Shiva. Becoming pleased with Shukracharya, he has no problem with Shukra. Shukra didn't do anything. He blesses Shukracharya. He says, sit with me, O Guruji. How is it you have come to be here? Knowing fully well what was going on, Lord Shiva is still playing the part. Shukra, who is panic-stricken, offers his salutations and he bows with great devotion to Lord Shiva. Then Brahma comes and Shukra adores him as well, with prayer, with stotra, with different offerings. He gives Brahma, the creator of the universe, Dan, and with the permission of Shiva, Brahma spoke to Shukracharya. Narayanaya Krishnaya Paramatmaya Namo Namah Shrunu Shukra Pravakshyami Dur Niti Shikar Shakti Jwalankaram Trijangata Karma Veda Brahikritam Narayanaya Krishnaya Paramatmaya Namo Namah. Brahma, still with a smile on his face, he says, oh Shukra, listen to me, I am going to tell you about the misdeeds of Chandrama, the moon, which is very disgraceful. In all three worlds, it is against the Veda to touch a chaste lady, the wife of a guru, the wife of a teacher, the mother, in that way. What about how she's going to go back home? Chandra stole her, but she's going to be the one who will have to face rebuke. The body, the life of a woman is so different to a man that she's innocent, she's not to blame, but she will be blamed. She will be cast into aspersion. Did you go of your own free will or was you forced? Did you fight to get away? What did you do? And in today's world, when people have a problem, sometimes, if you're not thinking carefully, the woman is blamed as if she is the cause, if she's the purpose. She has caused this problem. It happens. Whilst no situation, two situations is alike, whilst no situation is simple and the investigators do their job. Women's life, let me agree, women's life is totally different to men's life. In this regard, especially when it comes to blame, casting aspersion, especially. He says, oh Shukra, the moon forcibly takes her. And now he takes refuge in you, so as to gain the army of the deities to fight us. But know that myself and Shiva have come here to speak to you before you bring any army to face the righteous Lord. O Brahman, Lord Shiva now interjects. You are desirous of the welfare about the moon. But I shall remove the head of that sinful person with my trident now. I will destroy the entire demon race if they come upon this field, O Brahman. I am enraged. If I get enraged, who will protect those demons? You want to bring that army you have to face us? I myself, one, will destroy all of them. I shall playfully destroy all the enemies of the Devatas. The sage Angira is born in my race and is the teacher of Durvasa. Because of the eternal relationship, Brihaspati also happens to be the son of my teacher when Lord Shiva comes as Durvasa. The illustrious teacher can reduce the moon to ashes, but he remains quiet because in his youth Brihaspati had touched the wife of his elder brother, and he knows that he is paying for his karma. Brihaspati had made this sin, and he got the shrap that you will live this as well. That it is bound to repeat, and it is happening. Hand over the son, the godson of my teacher, Brihaspati. Let his wife Tara Devi, who you are harboring as well, the abductee, let her be freed from the abductor, the moon himself. Shukradev says, Prabhu, I have no problem with all what you're saying. But remember, if a competent person cannot protect those that seek refuge in them, then the person who is supposed to protect, he will go to hell. If a child goes to parent for protection and the parent throws the child into the street, will the parent get blessing for that or sin? If a wife goes to a husband for protection and the husband disowns the wife, wouldn't the husband pay for that? Therefore someone came to me for refuge, for protection. What am I to do? I don't know what to think, Prabhu. If I'm a sinner, and if somebody comes as a sinner to take refuge in somebody else, shouldn't you protect the sinner, or I will become a sinner myself? O Brahman, bring Tara here and bring that sinner Chandrama here now. Otherwise, you will pay for it. Shukra says, Prabhu, how is it you're talking in this way? You want to destroy all the demons? You want to destroy me? Prabhu, you are the Lord of all the Devatas and all the deities. You are equally for the gods and the demons. How can you only bring betterment for one side and threaten the other side? Oh God, who is full of flames, how can you threaten us like this? Prabhu, I want to listen to you, but how is it that you are favoring Indra, who has Raj Lakshmi, he is the king, but Bali is also the head of the demonic side, and he has the blessings of Raj Lakshmi. He is also a Rajan in his own right. How can you pick sides? He says, Shukra, when you align yourself with adharmic principles, you are going to end up, not only yourself, but all those around you are going to end up into the wrath of Shiva. Whenever a person harbors a person, whenever an individual is trying to harbor somebody who wrongs women, who do you want me to punish? The woman? Rather than understand circumstance and circumstance, is it right what the moon has done? Shukracharya, seeing the third eye open on Lord Shiva's head, drops down his entire body, humbles. Realize they're wrong, take your wrong. Remember that when you're wrong, take your wrong. Puts his head to the feet of Shiva Baba and he says, you do as you see fit. Mahadev Baba, you do as you see fit. Not only I myself, but this entire universe is ruled by you. And hearing these words, Shiva calmed down and he says, bring Chandrama now. Bring the Lord of the night here at once. And in this way, Brahma made Shukra, the poet, the planet Venus, to understand the reality, and he brought Tara, the Devi, and the moon, and presented them to Shiva. And here now, Shiva placed his hands on the head of the moon and told him that he would not destroy his head. You are free from that wrath. I am not going to kill you, but you are wrong. You are wrong. You are going to do some form of repentance. You are going to do praschit. And you are going to end up into two parts. And it is here Lord Shiva takes the Trishul and breaks the moon, as it were. And the crescent moon, not the full moon, the crescent moon is half placed on his hair, and the dark half, what is said to have the mark of a deer, if you look on the moon when it is full, and you look at the black mark that is etched out in Hindu scripture, we describe it as he became, as if it was scarred. He was so white and beautiful in the beginning. And look at how old this time is. Before anything collided with the moon to make these craters on the surface that we see today, before that darkened column, this window, this side, this perspective of the moon was visible, it was very white. But now the other half is going to become marked. It is going to become blemished. I accept the name Chandrasekhara, and I will keep you close to me under my control. And you who is full of blemish, you will remain in the other half, the darkened half, and you will practice yogic practice to free yourself of this. And when he sat down at the bank of the Milky Ocean to do this vrat, he does great amount of prayer to Lord Vishnu and Lord Shiva. And slowly his body burns, and he's destroyed. And just as he was destroyed, Atri Muni, being very compassionate, started crying to see the moon go down this road and now be destroyed. And if the moon is destroyed, the wave, the current in the ocean is affected. After this point, prior to this, it wasn't so. It was always constant, the water, the moon rays is constant. So when Atri Muni goes to the Milky Ocean, the bank, he cries, and the two teardrops that fell. By getting that act of compassion, the moon is reformed in that moment. Now freed from that trap, relieved of that sin. Both Brahma and Shiva crowned him as Chandrama, in charge of giving out different type of punishment as a Navgraha. For example, when a person has Navgraha, if they have moon or Somgra, for example, you will have, for example, intestinal problems. You will have different problems with your eyes, bleeding, cataract, glaucoma, but not limited to that. You could have different problems. And by pacifying this planet, a person can overcome this issue. Mahadev says, "Oh son, go back to your home. Enjoy your position. But because of the curse of Tara Devi, there will come a time when Daksh, your father-in-law, will give you a shrap. When you will inherit from a child, listen, from a child, you will get a shrap. And you will have to have consumption. You will lose your energy. You will no longer be this potent. Who is competent enough to neutralize the curse of a chaste woman? Because of my blessing today, the consumption and the sickness will lift one day. It will go, but you will have to get it because you have harmed the wife of your teacher. And because you harmed the wife of your teacher on the 4th day, in the bright half of Bhadrapada, that was the day he touched her. In that yoga, anybody that looks to you will carry this burden of sin, of being accused, of being falsely accused. Till 1 year they will feel that pain. Because an evil deed cannot be simply destroyed by time. It will be experienced, and you will have to undergo this. You will have to live with this pain for eternity going forward. Because of the abduction of Tara, the blemish on your surface, the blemish in your power, the fall from the grace that you had. O Chandrama, all this is to come. Whenever a person goes behind a lady and does this type of action, understand you are still getting a chance to function. But the sin that you could end up with, this sin is so horrific. This is why people should learn from your examples and never touch the wife of Guru, never touch the wife of anybody, never force themselves on anybody else. Tara spoke to Brahma and she informs him that she is with child. And it is here that a rule of Hinduism comes up. In case an unwilling or chaste lady is forcibly raped by someone, she never gets impure. But in case she enjoys the company of the sex, then she falls into disrepute. But if the person rapes her, she is not to blame. And in case she becomes pregnant and she loses the child, or the child is given up or whatsoever, she does not inherit Shra. Instead, the man, the person becomes as the sun or the moon. They will shoulder this blemish for the rest of eternity. For this reason, both sun and moon undergo eclipse. Both of those eclipses are considered to be impure, inauspicious, bad. Then he says, Devi, when that child comes, let that child go and live with the aggressor. And for this reason, this son of Chandrama went to live with the father. She was considered to be innocent in the matter, and she was returned to her husband. The husband was understanding because he remembers he had done wrong, and now this is karma coming back to play in his life. And he knows that his wife was innocent. Maybe everything should be this simple. Baba, if that was reality, it would have been good. Sometimes the lady had do nothing, and the husband giving she how much boyfriend and how much Shah Rukh Khan and Ajay Devgan she could get. But when the boy do something, he's a star. The duality, the unfairness in this life. But remember, what you do to somebody, that's going to come back to you only. That's the lesson here. Second night, about the importance of karma. Nanda Baba says, Oh Kanha, Oh Prabhu, what a discourse. He says, Oh Nand, today I have narrated to you the auspicious and pleasant story, the history, the graceful glory that increases the riches, removes griefs, increases the pleasure, happiness, welfare of those that listen to it. Therefore, O Baba, return. I want you. This is when Kansa is killed and Nanda, them had come, the people of Vrindavan had come to see Krishna fight Kansa and they did not want to leave him. He says, return home, Daddy. Take Mother Yashoda and all the cowherdesses and take them back. Be consoled. Don't be plunged in grief. I have answered your question. Nanda Baba continues asking about evil dreams. But in a chapter before, in chapter 78 of the same text, when Nanda is asking about all these different questions, he says, so why is it when people look at that moon, what happens? So the major problem, you get blamed. This is one of the reasons why when we celebrate Karwa Chauth, the moon is captured in that sieve. It is as if you capture him and you put him in a trap. That is what it represents. They cage him. He's contained. And the bad effects, the ill blame, the troubles in her marriage. The girl is fasting and she says together to break fast with her husband to pray for the preservation of her marriage. Karwa Chauth is celebrated to serve, to bring about a stretching of the marriage. And the husband and wife treat each other, and with the light burning to pull away, to break the effects of that moon. Karwa Chauth is to control him because of this discourse. Subsequent to this, he gets Shrap from the father-in-law. Daksh Prajapati, many pundits are reading that, so I don't have to go through that again. Daksh Prajapati in Shivpuran gives him Shrap for consorting only with Rohini. And he goes into the half weak, dark half, bright half. Then Ganesh Baba, when he was eating, and that's the story where they say the dhoti fell, some say the belly burst because he was overeating. But realistically, I think it is the dhoti just fell, if anything. And he gives him Shrap for being so pompous. It is a story where you are body shaming the fat person. And you're saying that I am pretty and I'm good looking and I'm perfect, and Ganesh Baba gives him Shrap that is brought about because of this history, this moment. Nasta Chandra, or the night when the bright half, the fourth night in the literal Chout night, Tithi, is there in the bright half, the Bhadrapada month, that Nasta Chandra, when that comes, that makes it worse. That is the worst time to look at the moon, because when you look at the moon, you will have to carry this blame. People will falsely accuse you. You're going to be having police report, court matters, not only husband and wife problems. Children will be falsely accused in school. Parents are going to have trouble with children, telling tales, etc. It is a serious thing. And many people don't know about it, and that's why I read this tonight. It's not nice, and by no means it shows, by no means we look at rape in any way. Instead, for all of eternity, he has to lose power. He's going up and down. And why does the ocean in a different chapter, Krishna explained that, why does the ocean raise in tide and drop in tide, raise in tide and drop in tide? Because Varun Devata is the one who gave them the Varuni, the drink that they had where they tried to drug that. He was looked at as an accomplice. So when the moon becomes the most influential, full moon night, you will see the water raise up. The water is rough. Nobody can enjoy the beach that day. And when the moon pulls away, he becomes very calm. Until this day, he is looked at in that way. When you read of the effects of Chandra in birth chart, in Patra, in Grah, Dosh, wherever you're looking, Chandrama, when he is very, let's say as Pandit we go to pray in the hospital, and where there's the psychiatric board, we don't go when it's close to full moon. 2 days before, 2 days after, you can't walk there. The same people that are sensitive to this magnetic. Why does the moon look full? The moon comes increment, there's a measurement, incrementally closer to the earth. So it looks as if it is getting bigger. And that bigness brings out a certain amount of magnetism. So that magnetic pole is interfering with the sea, so the sea water is getting high. When you look at your own body, your body is constituted of fluids, urine, blood, etc., lymphatic fluid. So the moon is having an effect on your body too. When it's full moon time, children act erratic. People who, under subjugation, they act moody, maybe depressed. Some people act hyper. Some people act, angry. Some people get cry. You're emotional. And you'll hear people use a statement. You're moving like the moon. As the moon phase is changing, your mood is changing. And there's some truth to that. People who are epileptic, for parents tonight, for patients themselves, when you have a bout of epilepsy, look for tendencies, look for trends when it comes to the moon pattern or the moon phase. And you will see close to the moon phase, where the magnetic pull is close and it is high, the most powerful time. The person who has that tendency to have that electrical shock in their brain, they tend to have attacks, fits. The moon was too traumatic, and for this reason, Lord Shiva had to break him down. Just like how they broke down the sun to lose the potency when we talk about Sanjana, his wife of Surjanarayan Swami. Last night we talked about that. The moon has too much of a magnetic pull to remain full. Imagine what would happen if the moon was full all the time. So when there was dark night and bright night, agriculture life increased. It improved. The cycle of reproduction amongst the animal kingdom changed. And all this happened as a positive. Those things would be positive coming out from the negative that this individual did. There's no excuse for that type of action. That type of action is inexcusable. It is to be looked down and to be, not encouraged in the least. This is why when people look at him in Hinduism, we don't encourage to look at the full moon. We don't even encourage to look at the moon in any case. He's not somebody we worship. You ever thought about that? You have him in Grah Puja, but how many people we do Surya Narayana Puja, Sun Puja? What is the color of the flag that is used for Chandrama, the moon? The only time people worship him is in the Navgraha. That's it. But to say that today, because the sun is the center of the universe, he is the father of Yamraj and others, and people worship him on a Sunday morning. But we don't worship the moon on a Monday morning. That's his day, Sombar. That is his day. We don't do his worship because he was not something to be lauded. He has a role, he has a play, and he's maintained because of the repenting. But in this discourse tonight, we are not going to deal with how he came out of the sin. Because there's the other side of this discourse where when people make mistakes, you are told for your mistakes and you come out of that. The act of forgiveness, God's ability to forgive a sinner for making mistakes. And that is there's a part for that. But tonight, we look at why it is so hurtful to look at the moon. When people get married in Hinduism, we tell you look at the sun and bow, and then we tell you to look at the North Star, Dhruv Tara. Dhruv. Dhruv is the devotee that becomes the North Star. But we don't tell you look for the moon. Don't look for him. Because of these types of things. And this is why that is so. Vrindavan Biharilal ki jai. Nanda Baba is saying there are people, there are 18 types of women that has to be respected. Please listen. The mother, the stepmother, the mother-in-law, the Guru Mai or the wife of the teacher, the wife of the son, the wife of the brother, the sister of your mother, the sister of your father, the wife of a nephew, the brother's wife, newly wedded wife of others, auntie, the women in their period, their monthly cycle, the mother of the father, Aji, the mother of the mother, Nani, O Indradi. This list is provided in Psalm Ved, and it is supported by these people that teach of wisdom. If anyone looks at them with side glances, touches them, or harbors ill intentions towards these women because of their roles, because of their characteristics, because of their caste, because of their behavior, you will burn in hell for even looking at them, much more touching them. In case one looks at them with evil eyes, he should at once worship Sri Vishnu as Chandramati, because there is no salvation without asking for forgiveness when this sin is done. Whosoever looks at them with passion intentions always earn punishment, denouncement. They are at a caliber or a pedestal that is above, and they deserve the worship, they deserve the respect of society and the world at large. The wise people never cast a lustful eyes on these types of women. The intellectuals look at the moon and look at the sun, and they remember never look at them in the eclipse, because they had lost their luster. They had fallen from grace in both instances, last night, tonight. It is shameful, and it is for this reason they are not in any way worshipped or worshipable at that time when this moment comes for the eclipse. O Nand, in case somebody happens to look at the moon in the month when it is Nashta Chandra, or the night, what we keep talking about, the night for the Ganesh Jayanti, in the month of Bhadrapada, the bright half, the fortnight, Chowth night, what is to be done? Because of the sin of kidnapping Tara, anyone looks at the moon, they are going to have to gain sin, punishment. So, in the Katha with Krishna, the story where this is when Vasudeva does Devi Yagna. He does, in Devi Bhagavad it is explained, that he does Devi Yagna to get back Krishna. Krishna had gone Satyajit had gotten his Samantak gem from Surjan's from this pretty stone. And this is a summary that is given here in Brahmavaivat, Devi Bhagavat, in a couple of places. And the Samantak gem is so attractive, but Krishna had gotten him, I think they call it Mitya or Miti Dosh, by watching the moon, so he gets to bleed. He falls into this trap. He watched the moon and he got bleed. And when the person, long story short, went missing, they say, well, Krishna wanted that gem, so he must be killed if her. So they say his name, Krishna went in the forest, and the poor owner of the stone was killed by a lion. The lion went further up the road, and a bear killed the lion, and that bear was Jamun from Ramayana. And Krishna ends up by the house now, following the blood of the trail of the bear that, he fought the lion. When he reaches to the home, the midwife is holding the baby, the grandchild or child of Jamun, and the midwife makes a pronouncement. Everybody put your hand together. Simha prasena mavadita simho jamvata hata sukumarak marudistavahisha samantaka. Let the person recite that verse. This is something I shared in the WhatsApp group. It's there if you want it. The verse says, "O Prince, O Krishna, don't cry. You take this Samantak gem. The lion took it from Satyajit, from Prasen. And when that lion came close to this cave, Jamun killed the lion. And what are you supposed to do? You can say the prayer 109 times, or according to Brahmavaivat Puran, put water. If you could get Ganga Jal is best. If you get normal water and you say this mantra 108 times and you blow, because this is what broke the curse in Krishna Bhagwan's life. And then you take that water, you bathe with it and you drink some of it, and the person is able to overcome the shrap of this Mitya Dosh, or the shrap that is caused by looking at the moon. Vrindavan Bihari Lal Ki Jai. It is the midwife who gives that blessing. And when you saw this verse is not no secret. It comes from Brahmavaivat Puran, where again the midwife is speaking and she gives Krishna that blessing. That is where it comes from. And when you blow into the water, this is one solution, but there are others. If you chant the mantra 108 times, it lifts the dosh. If you read, you have to read it. Read the discourse where Krishna is fighting for the Samantak gem. I believe he fought Jamun for 28 days. And you see, if we go down this road, it's like one discourse leads to another. And the question is, how did Jamun fight? How did they end up fighting Krishna? This is just a side note. In Ram Janam, in Ram Gita, Tulsidas Ramayana, I'm remembering, Jamun, when he's speaking to Sri Ram, he says, Prabhu, I wish to fight you. I want to see how strong I am and how strong you are. I want to fight you. And Sri Ram in Surya River says, don't worry, in my next janam, me and you will fight. And Sri Ram leaves, Krishna comes, and this moment comes. And for 28 days, Jamun and Krishna are locked in heated battle. And at the end of that battle, Krishna reveals himself to Jamun. And Jamun is very happy, cries that Sri Ram, he saw one minute, he saw Krishna, when he blink again and what he saw Sri Ram, he starts to cry and he says, Prabhu, today you fill my heart with love and joy that my wish is granted. My life journey is fulfilled. But Prabhu, let me give you one gift. You came here for the Samantak Jal. Let me give you one gift, my daughter. And it is here that Jamwanti gets married to Krishna. Jamwanti is the wife of Krishna. I believe I was reading it for you, where Jamwanti tells Krishna, this is after Rukmani had a son and this one had a son. She says, I want to have a son for you too. And Krishna goes to pray to Lord Shiva that he wants a son. After listening to the advice of Upamanyu, and this is coming from Bhagavad as well as Shikran, Upamanyu guides him how to pray to Shiva. And Lord Shiva appears before him and he says, what can I do for you? O Vishnu incarnate, what are you troubling yourself with? And Krishna says, I've come to beg for a son. And Shiva Baba says, how to bless you with what I cannot bless you with. He says, I know, I will come as your son. And Lord Shiva incarnates as Samba, the son of Lord Krishna. Please remember, that son was, that child came from this Jaman teeth. Jaman, tied together now with this verse where we are praying for the forgiveness. That discourse is integral for the forgiveness from the blame of watching the full moon. Me personally, if you ask me, I would tell you, yes, that night is the worst. That full moon for the Ganesh is the worst. But if you look at any full moon, you get blamed, from my experience. So it is something for you to remember and keep. And if you happen to look at the full moon, in all them TV show, lovers look at the full moon and they get in trouble. They're not lovers for long. If you have the prayer and you've now heard the procedure, how to do it, you would be able to help yourself. And I think that's the motive of this Ganesh Gyaan Yagna, to give you the knowledge so that you would know the intricacies, the history of what you're talking about. And this is why Ganesh Baba gave this strap to the moon. This is why we can't look at the moon on that night. This is why it is bad. This is why we don't worship the moon the way we worship the sun, for example. We do have him. We do Kavach Pasum, which is Chandrama, the moon. We do have he does have a role to play, but we don't have that religiosity. This is why he had to get strapped time and time again, because it is as if he is so lustful. He represents this beautiful person that cannot control himself. He is evil, and that energy has to be destroyed, and it was destroyed by a chaste woman, by a simple single woman. Vindravan Biharilala ki jai. Tonight, it is a sensitive topic, and I'm telling you, many Babas would stay away from it because of that word called rape. They are afraid to say it, but I think, in my humble opinion, devotees, it needs to be said, because this is the reality for many people. And in the words of Indradyuta, in our Ved, it is supported that you do not touch these women. If you look at them, if you touch them with evil intentions, you earn great amount of sin. You burn for it. Don't do it. Remember the moon and remember the sun, and don't do it. Vindravan Biharilala ki jai, Shri Ganesh Bhagwan ki jai. This brings me to the end of my second night, and I have fulfilled the question about why is it bad to look at the moon, what's the history behind it, and then to go further into detail, how do you solve it? What is the remedial prayer? Because there is so much of our Ganesh that we don't talk about. There's a lot that we don't talk about, how to use these different mantras to solve different problems. When a business, for example, there's a mool mantra of Ganapati, when a business is going up and then it comes down, goes up and it comes down, and you want to get rid of that and you want to bring in stability, there's a way to do that prayer. Just as the moon did Praschit, there's a way to pray and you'll get that forgiveness, whatever mistake is causing it, and you'll be able to come out of that problem. Everybody, if you have a question, please send me a WhatsApp. Please like and share this satsang. Leave your comments. Tell me where your message from tonight. Did you learn something? What do you think? Do you think this is an important discourse? Do you understand now why we don't look at the moon? Do you understand why we capture the moon in that sifter for those women that are doing the Karawa chout? It's at the chout night. I'm going to that another night. I'll read it for you. But it is a Ganesh chout. It has some intricate relations to this discourse with Tara Devi. I hope you enjoyed the discourse tonight, and I look forward to doing one more discourse tomorrow night that would bring or shed some light on you, for you, about our Ganesh Baba, our Lord. I hope you enjoyed it. We did puja all day today with devotees from Nyanfa. We did Hiramba Ganapati, or the commonly, let's call it the Panchmuk, 5 E's. Ganapati, the one with the Anamaya, Kosh, the different body of the soul, the different levels, the different layers of the soul. That 5-headed form. If you're interested in that, send me a message. If you want the words of the Narad Muni's Nam Sankat Ashram Stotra, send me a message, you will get it. Everybody, I hope you enjoyed the satsang tonight. From me and Priya and those here at the ashram, God bless you. Let's do our final pratna. Join your hands, everybody. Tvameva mata chapita tvameva tvameva bandhuscha sakha tvameva tvameva dravinam tvameva tvameva sarvam mama deva deva tvameva sarvam mama deva deva. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. प्रेम से बोलो महापति महादेव की जय, पौलपुत्र हनुमान की जय, श्री आदि शक्ति माता की जय, श्री गणेश भगवान की जय, वृंदावन बिहारी लाल की जय, सत्य सनातन धर्म की जय. जय जय Sitaram. Sitaram everybody. Pleasant good night, safe dreams, and see you tomorrow. Bye bye.